Yes, it's that time of the week again. It's time for our regular unboxing of something from the emergency storage shed. This is episode 27 of the long-running series, and I think we've just got through the introduction. Hope you're enjoying it. I get a lot of good feedback from these videos, and the retention rate's really good. So let's go for a walk out here and see what we can find today for you to enjoy. Okay, I have moved that tool chest or the pie warmer because that's staying in this shed, and I've just got some brass and electric motors and other stuff there that it's not a problem at the moment, and I will be doing a scrap run to Melbourne at some stage because the brass is building up quite nicely. I think there's 25 kilos in that crate, and I've got some more crates around. What are we going to tackle today? Well, we still can't really make any headway into that side. We'll get onto those centre shelves shortly. In fact, it looks like there's some antique bottles in that one, so that will be cool. I can see a two-stroke engine. There's some more electrical stuff. Looks like a bit of household stuff in the top crate there. Don't know what's in that barrel. It probably won't be very heavy because I wouldn't imagine that would have been lifted up there if it was heavy. We were working down this side. We've made good progress in this section, and once we clear this pile, we can probably actually start unpacking this shelf unit. And once that's clear, there's a little CRT TV up the top, looks like just some oil products. Once that's clear, we can actually start storing some things in that, probably not permanently, but at least to get them off the floor and give you a bit more room in the main workshop. There's another bench grinder. I'm not sure why I own about 8 bench grinders. Clearly I'm going to have to pick which ones I want to keep and sell the rest. So let's tackle this pile. Well, we have this vintage Hewlett-Packard printer. I think it's about a 1990s model. It's pretty early in computer terms. I was going to just scrap it out. I did quickly check eBay, and you know, some of them were selling for fairly big money. I don't know why. They weren't in Australia, but I'm just thinking the amount of scrap we'll get out of it would be a matter of only a couple of dollars tops. I would think, even if there's a really, really nice board with lots of IC chips and a high grade board, we're still not going to get much more than $5. I'm going to clean it up, put it in the shop as a vintage piece of computer history for $20. And if it sits there for too long, well, then I'll scrap it out. It will get out of my shed for now. So there we go. We've already organised the first thing on that pile. I want to have a look in that box that says radio. I'm sure it's not a radio. It's probably books. There's possibly more books in that one. Not sure on the bottom one. We won't do all those today. Oh, depends how quickly we get through them. This Victor fuel can, it's actually got fuel in it, I think. It's probably not going to be very good fuel. I'll keep it for washing up purposes. It's a limited edition Victor motor mower fuel can. I think these came out around about 20 years ago in the 90s. Oh, here we go. No, not long, about 10 years ago. It was to celebrate 60 years of Victor lawnmowers. So it's only 11 years old, but these ones still have a collectability. It's a bit rusty on top. I'm going to clean that one up. Probably put it in the shop for $20 because advertising stuff always sells well. Now, I was guessing books on these boxes because books are heavy, and boxes full of books are heavy, and they normally make a basis of a good stack when you're building a pile of stuff. But this one doesn't feel quite as heavy as it should for books. We'll get into that shortly. Let's get the other box. Okay, this one does feel more like books. Anyway, we've got 2 boxes to start with. Let's see what's in them. So what is in this one? I do love unboxings. Oh, it is books. Yes, it is books. Okay. What have we got here? Outback Radio. Fairly modern magazine or booklet. Well, it's actually quite a thick book. The Principles of Colour Television. That's quite vintage. Probably 1960s or 70s. Or maybe 70s. I don't think colour television really came to Australia until early 70s sometime. I remember we had a black and white TV when I was a kid. So not sure. Tape recording for everyone. A classic 50s looking cover there. Let's see how the dates work out. 1962, all right, late 50s. So yeah, there's a lot of electronic stuff here. TV servicing made easy. If I do get into CRTVs, I might have to read these. Electronics Data Handbook. Alright, there's some learning material here. Radio Servicing Pocketbook. Well, I do want to teach myself how to do valve radios better. I don't understand valves all that well. So clearly I'm going to have to keep some of these and read them. Magnetic Recording Handbook. I don't think I'm going to be into that, so I'll probably sell that one. More about loudspeakers. That would be interesting. Sort of getting a grasp on how everything works certainly helps you to fix them. Technical book here on measuring. Practical geometry. Alright, so I don't think I'll be reading that one. Oh, look at this. The Lathe Operator's Manual. I'll certainly be reading this one. I am going to have to brush up on all the lathe skills because I don't have any. So I guess not brushing up, I guess learning in the first place. Alright, that looks like an easy to read book. Finishing a V-thread. Okay, alright, we'll put that one aside for sure. Running your car safely and economically. Telecom Australia, it looks probably late 70s. Probably won't give us a date. That might be saleable. What do we got here? The Radio Manual, 3rd edition. That looks like a nice book. It'd be 1950s, I would guess. 1940. Oh, it's had lots of reprints. 1943 is the newer one. Alright, well that's going to bring me up to speed on radios. Perfect reading for those nights when you cannot sleep. Alright, well, I don't know if I want to commit that seriously to radios, but I guess there's no harm in trying. Electronics Handbook, Receiving Values, Picture Tubes. Well, that looks more like a data book for mini-watt valves. Yeah, all the valves. Well, that could be interesting, although you can get most of this information online now. All the data for various components. Yeah, mini-watt. I think they were Philips, weren't they? Milliwatt? No, mini-watt. Yeah, Philips Electrical Company. So that's 1960s. Might be a very good reference. Student's Handbook of Experiments in Electrical Engineering Science. Wow. Problems in Engineering Science. Introduction to Antennas. That might be a good one to read. I don't understand a lot about different antennas and why FM antennas are different to AM, and then you have your different TV antennas. Might be interesting reading. Shortwave Listener's Guide. I don't think I'm going to get into shortwave and ham radio work. I just can't possibly do everything. We'll probably sell that one. Better Radio Reception. Shortwave Amateur Radio. I mean, that's a hobby all on its own. Although the electronics aspect of it would be interesting. And Radio Data Reference Book. So a very technical box of books there. I'll have to sort out what I'm going to keep, and then I'll work out some prices on the other ones, and I'll show you in the list at the end. Okay, more books, I guess. It looks like this episode's going to be heavily weighted towards books. So we have a... Oh, okay. Oh, this is notes. Now, when we did this guy's shed, we had got a coin collection, and I did a video on that. And it looks like this is all his notes on his coins or stamps. No, it's all on coins. So I've actually sold off most of his collection. We've done quite well out of all this. Yeah, this is going to be no value. It'll go in the recycle bin as far as all the paperwork goes. He went to a lot of trouble to document all these coins and information about them. The actual folder itself probably isn't that useful. I might use it. Actually, I might use it to get some of those coin plastic pockets, because I do have more coins to sell through the shop, and I probably need another album. So we might repurpose this one. Memories of 16 Rado Gabar Island. There's stuff relating to his Air Force days. Some more Air Force books. So these sort of books sell quite well through the shop. And again, most of it's in plastic bags, as a lot of the stuff from this deal was. Weeds Identification Guide, that's going to have some good value. I'll just check eBay on that one, but that's probably going to be a $10 to $20 book. It was near $70 when it was purchased. Good quality book, that one. Just a coffee table book on Australia. That looks probably 60s. 1965. So yeah, probably just $5 on that one. Land of the Southern Cross, Australia. So we've got some nice big coffee table books here. This one looks sort of 60s again. I purchased it in 1960. So I don't think these are going to have much value. It might be $5 to $10. Souvenir of Queensland, that's much more modern. Flying the Royal Mail, that's a nice book too. So possibly a $10 book there. I will check these on eBay quickly because some books can, just out of the blue, some books can be quite sought after. Off the Beaten Track, Mike and Mel Leyland. Classic Australian exploring entertainers of the 70s and I think the 70s mainly. Don't think they went into the 80s. Yeah, that might have some value too. Steam and Rail, this is a nice book. So train stuff tends to sell very well. This is a big heavy book. I reckon it's probably going to be a $20 book easily. It's interesting, what date have we got here? 1998, so yeah, a bit more modern. It's interesting that a lot of times when I'm pricing books, I actually judge a book by the cover. But it actually does make an impact into how well it sells, because I guess customers do the same. I'll check eBay on that one too, but that's a nice book. That would have been pretty expensive to buy, and anyone into the railways would enjoy that one. That's all we have in this box, except a rather squashed up Melbourne Street Directory. Some of the early directories can bring a lot of money. This one's much more recent. So look, it might just be $5. I think we'll have to leave that under a decent weight to flatten out. It shouldn't have been packed sideways. And this box can go in the recycle bin. Let's get this last box done, and it's almost certainly books. It's heavy, and it's the bottom of that pile. So let's get into this one. We'll go through it. I'll work out some prices, and I'll get back to you with a list. But we usually get pretty good value out of books. This one was heavy, and I think it's got some pretty big books in it. We have a Country Vic Road Street Directory, not overly old, but the thing is with these, they lose their value pretty quickly because as soon as the next edition is out, no one wants the previous edition. But I guess the new ones are pretty expensive. You know, this was $55. So what date is it? I guess if it's within the last 5 years or so, it's still going to have some value. I can't actually see a publishing date, so it's going to be $5 or $10. I'll check it on eBay again. All right, we have some more coffee table books in here by the looks of it. Corio Bay, which is Geelong area. 1980s, just a bit of a tourism book. Actually 1978, so maybe $5. Someone from that area might be interested in it. Seashells, well, there was a big seashell collection from this guy's place, which I ended up selling. This looks like a 1970s book, yeah, so people buy books about seashells. All right, mostly big books. It won't take us long to get through this. What do we got? Money of the World. Sounds like an interesting reference. 1970s probably. 1978. And that's quite a nice reference book. So we'll probably get $10 or so for that. As I said, I will check them online just to make sure nothing's rare. Coaster Country, this is, Southwest Victoria area, which I think is where the guy grew up. Winchelsea. Birregurra, which is down near Colac, between Colac and Geelong, I think. Otway Ranges, that's a nice book actually, nice historic book. If it was from my area where I grew up, I would keep that, but We should be able to pass that one on pretty well. Some of these may actually eBay all right. We have the National Geographic Society. That's an impressive book. Not sure what date this is, probably 1980s again. 1987, yep. Impressive book all the same, that one. Another Australian book. Very good coffee table book. These sell okay, but you've got to keep them cheap. $5 to $10 generally. The Music of Man. Yeah, that might be a bit harder to sell. And what we do with books that we can't sell, we tend to put them on a book exchange. We run a free book exchange out the front of our shop, and it gets used quite often. Well, a lot, and people drop books off and take books away, and we just put any extra from our shop that we don't want out there. More about Australia's history. That's quite nice, that one. The Simpson Desert. More about Australia. This guy spent a lot of money on books. Riversley, the story of animals in ancient rainforests of inland Australia. They're in great condition too, which helps. Another Australian book. This one looks a bit older, probably 1970s. And we have 25 years of Australian geographic photography. So again, a nice Australian coffee table book. Oh, how cool is that? Okay, well, that's just about done. What have we got? Just a few in a plastic bag here. Oh, a bit of radio stuff again. 70 years of radio tubes and valves. Oh, it's just the one book? Yeah, that's a pretty cool book. Might be interesting reading. I figure if I read enough books on old radios and stuff, you don't have to understand everything you read, but the more you read, the more your brain absorbs, and gradually you do pick up knowledge that doesn't necessarily fall out the moment you've closed the book. That looks pretty cool. History of the old vacuum tubes or valves. Yeah, I reckon I'd probably read that. I'd probably be interested in the development of the radio valves. That's the end of this box. I better do some research and we'll be back shortly with the notepad. Okay, time to wrap this video up. I've got everything sorted. I've done a bit of checking. I cleaned up the printer. It actually cleaned up pretty well. On the back of it, it says it was made in March 1991, so it's pretty early for printers. So yeah, we might get our $20. Don't know. I've got here a pile of books that I'm keeping to read, and the other way around. A pile of books for me to read and books to sell. And I haven't cleaned the Victor fuel can up yet, but it just needs a bit of a wipe over the top, just so it doesn't look quite so rusty. I think we'll get our 20 for that. So there we go. The ones I'm keeping, just TV servicing, radio servicing, the introduction to antennas. Did you hear about the 2 antennas that got married? The wedding service wasn't much, but the reception was brilliant. The lathe book, of course, I'm keeping that. A bit about loudspeakers, don't know, it might be interesting. This big heavy book about radios, and the one on valves. I actually found a few of those listed online for big money. The cheapest I found was 84 US. I found one listed at over 500 US. I didn't see any that had sold, so you know, some sellers are pretty ambitious. But I'm going to read that first. I will be selling these ones later, but I haven't included the value of those yet for now. So on our stack of books we are selling, actually on the notepad I've got the first box plus the printer and the fuel tin. So the first box of books added up to $155. Most of them are $10. I'm going to try for $10. Some of them were $5, just some of the smaller booklets, but there wasn't anything outstanding. The second box, we got $130 worth, mainly coffee table books and some of the Air Force ones. Again, nothing really outstanding. The Steam and Rail one they didn't really sell online, but they're so big that postage is an issue, but we should get $20 for that. Oh, the Weeds book. I did find some, I think mine was a first edition. I did find a second edition, or it might have been a third edition, that sold. 2 of them sold for over $100 each. So I'm guessing on the 40, I think if we run it through eBay, we might even do better than that. It's clearly a sought-after book. And it's more than just an interesting coffee table book. It's actually a valuable reference for farmers. So that's probably going to be a good one. I've estimated 40. And on the other box, the third box, we got $135. And if we add those to the other figures, gives us a total of $420. I told you we do well out of books. And really, when I was researching, I just made sure that they weren't rare. So I could find examples of all of them online. Sometimes you don't find a sold price, but you find someone selling one as a buy it now at $20. And if it hasn't sold, you know it's not rare. So $10 each, they'll sell quickly at that through the shop. I think $20 we went on that history one from Western Victoria. Possibly could eBay that as well. I did find a copy that sold for $50. Buy it now. So, 20 is probably cheap, but that's all right. We'll sell it. The Vic Roads one was 2013 was the printing date. I found it. So we should get $10 for that. So there we go. $420 and more stuff out of my shed. So another few boxes of books, another really good return. I forgot to check on the totals for our emergency storage shed unboxing values. I think we're about 5,500. I know we were just over 5 last time and we've got 420. So yeah, say about $5,500. Plus I said I'm keeping some for now and I will be selling them later on, but I won't be including them in the values. So there we go. Thanks for watching, guys. Another episode done and dusted. We'll see you next week for episode 28. Bye for now.